everything they do.
Good example from me.
Yeah.
I suppose it just gives the postcard a personal touch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of history I can hold in my hand.
This business postcard advertises a sweet shop. On the front, a sketch of the sweet shop is present alongside a room for a stamp and the message. This means the postcard could be used for normal functions whilst continuing to advertise. On the back of the postcard is the store's address, telephone number and a few facts of local history. The addition of local historical facts may refer to the sweet shop's long-standing heritage within the community. It could also mean that the business wanted their postcards to be sent to different towns so they could learn of the sweet shop and Southampton alike. For the first time, we start to see a postcard as a direct form of education.
So far, all of the postcards we've seen have been of drawings. Not all advertising postcards were drawings, however. Certain national companies did produce postcards which were used frequently in Southampton. This Stop Me and Buy One postcard, produced by Wolves Ice Cream Company, represents the advertising power of the postcard. By having a photograph instead of a drawing, it is apparent that the ice cream company had a bigger budget to spend than other local companies. On the bottom right of the postcard reads the logo Pamlin Prince Croydon. Wolves' decision to manufacture postcards locally identifies that Wolves had more money to invest in local companies, as printing postcards nationally was generally more expensive.
Postcards have been continuously used for advertising during the 20th century as well. This postcard is significantly more contemporary than previous examples. Unlike other postcards, this postcard advertises Southampton as a tourist destination. On the front of the postcard, 4 main aspects of the town are identified. On the back of the postcard, the message, published in conjunction with Southampton City Council, signifies a lasting appreciation of the postcard's use in Southampton.
Southampton's businesses did benefit from the postcard's private production quite significantly. Postcards were a cheap and easy way to inform locals of services available to them. Businesses saw an economic incentive with postcards, as even though they were sometimes given as free gifts, it would ultimately help them generate money as word would spread via the post. In many respects, the postcard used as an advertising agent is similar to the modern day business leaflet pushed through a letterbox.
It's safe to say that Southampton's postcard industry was kept alive by continuous public use. Postcards were economically preferable as the price to send a letter was far greater. A lot could be identified about a person who sent a postcard. Postcards produced in Southampton included pictures of just about anything. Churches, hotels, streets, boats, local church pageants, you name it, there was probably a postcard. In our research, it is safe to say that Southampton locals were proud of their buildings and the shipyards, as a significant amount of postcards was sent with those themes.
A common centrepiece of the Southampton postcards was the Southampton Bargate, and lots of people do like seeing how everything's changed throughout time.
And changed dramatically, man.
Changed dramatically, yeah, indeed. Here the Bargate is seen in the background of a busy street, capturing a normal busy day in the town centre. A picture of an everyday street scene on a postcard may have been popular amongst locals as it connected then to their town. Locals sent postcards depicting typical scenes to their friends. However, the picture may have not been that important, as postcards were used frequently to send quick messages around town. It is likely the recipient cared far more about the message and so didn't criticise the picture.
The postcard showing the Titanic Memorial in Southampton town centre may have been in demand internationally.
Yeah.
The story of the Titanic is well known, and famously is set off from Southampton. Being able to buy a postcard of the memorial thus shows a mark of respect and also a sense of local pride that such a memorial exists.
As discussed, postcards were also in demand locally as a means of spreading local news. This postcard was a homemade and shows bomb destruction during World War II. Postcards showing destruction were generally not made en masse during wartime as a means of keeping morale high amongst locals. However, as this postcard is homemade, it could still be sent. This postcard being homemade also signifies the demand for a fast production of postcards. By taking a picture of the destruction, a postcard could be sent immediately.
On a much happier note, local pride can be felt with some other postcards. Here, the Woolston football team are having their team photo. Although worn with age, the postcard identifies local support and pride in sporting teams. One could imagine sending such a picture to a friend in a different district of town after their team lost to Woolston.
Okay guys, So we've spoken a lot about the manufacturing side of it
Yeah.
and the pictures
Yeah.
on the front. Let's talk about the messages.
I almost forgot that postcards actually had messages on them. I'd love to.
Cardinal sin, my boy. Harvey, why don't you tell us a bit about the message?
The pictures on the front of the postcard were the most significant change to the private production of postcards. That's an obvious fact, of course. However, alongside the picture, the message on the back of a postcard is equally as important, especially for social historians. Like the variety of pictures on postcards, our research has shown a variety of messages on the back of postcards as well. This postcard, written in 1910, reads, "Dear Dad, thanks for the postcard. We are all pretty well. If you had been here on Sunday, you would have been blown to pieces. I'm glad to hear you are keeping well. Love from all."
That's all very well and good, Harvey, but what can we learn from that?
The message was sent from Southampton to Scotland and holds little meaning, just messages of love. This may signify messages didn't have to be overly deep, as they were frequent among friends and family. Also, with the lack of space on postcards, you couldn't really have long messages. That's normally saved for something like a letter.
By analysing several messages on postcard, a trend has been found for tourists to typically send postcards back home of local landmarks and attractions. This message reads, "One for your collection, Southampton. I'm having up my holiday at last. I'm up here for a few days. Having fun time. Came up here sat. All quite well, I hope." The front of the postcard displays the dock, a former significant attraction within Southampton. The act of sending a picture of the dock rather than the street or a church shows a difference in preference from tourists and locals. Perhaps a need to impress. After all, it is their holiday.
And the docks in Southampton are very impressive.
They are indeed.
Both economically and aesthetically.
And if you came to our presentation, you would have seen that. We would have told you all about it.
Finally, the postcard's message content between locals is significantly different to that of a tourist. This rather mundane postcard of a street on Boxing Day simply reads, "Dear Sybil, hope to see you Friday, Maud." The lack of detail and emotion within the message of the postcard identifies its purpose as a simple form of continuous communication, much like the text message of our present times.
Or Facebook message.
Indeed, Harvey, indeed.
To generalise, the messages on the back of postcards sometimes correlate with the picture in the front. More often than not, postcards are seen to have deeper meaning and messages of love when being sent by tourists on holiday. The private production of postcards may not have changed the message significantly, however, it is logical that there is a greater incentive to send a picture postcards to loved ones on holiday rather than a blank post office card. Some postcards, however, have messages and notes written on them from years after purchase. The postcard with Wall's Ice Cream Man carries the note, "The Stop Me and Buy One first appeared in the streets before 1930. This little bio identifies a different use of postcards entirely, postcard collecting, or deltiology as I said earlier. And also it shows that deltiology had become a popular means of researching into local history and was also a damn fine hobby.
Damn fine.
Friends, family, and fellow postcard enthusiasts, it's time to conclude. Southampton reacted to private publication of the postcard the way any city would, with great enthusiasm.
You have to remember that postcards were really cheap. They were much cheaper than a letter and hugely endorsed because it was a big money maker. Companies made a lot of money from postcards.
Cannot stress that enough.
Well, that's it for this week's Have You Ever Wondered? We hope you had fun viewing, although we doubt you'll ever wonder again. We'll see you at next week's Postcard Club. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, that's a wrap, lads.
Up, up.
You did it?
Drinks on, Rob.
Drink with me.
Rob.